Running a business comes with a lot of what-ifs, but luckily there's a simple answer to them. Shopify. It's the commerce platform behind millions of businesses, including Thrive Cosmetics and Momofuku, and it'll help you with everything you need. From website design and marketing to boosting sales and expanding operations, Shopify can get the job done and make your dream a reality. Turn those what-ifs into... Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/special offer.
Legendary reliability, excellent resale value. Check out Toyota's amazing lineup of affordable cars, including the sporty Camry and stylish Corolla. Visit buyatoyota.com for great deals and more. Toyota, let's go places.
The Stone Zone on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Welcome back into the Stone Zone. Joining us now is the Director of the Office of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard. Now, if you are a listener to the Stone Zone, you know that I have been a fan of Tulsi Gabbard since I saw her demolish Senator Kamala Harris, then Senator Kamala Harris, over the latter's record on criminal justice, because as a prosecutor, Kamala Harris put thousands of people in prison for the nonviolent first-time crime of possession of small amounts of drugs, which I think is wrong. And the toughness that Tulsi Gabbard displayed in that presidential debate caught my attention. And it is no secret that I am among those who urged her to support President Trump, that I later among those who urged her to become a Republican, and that I have predicted, this is not a secret, that I believe that she will someday be our first woman president. Not necessarily in 2028, but very definitely someday. So now that I'm finished gushing like a fanboy, Tulsi Gabbard, welcome to the Stone Zone.
Aloha, Roger. Thank you very much for having me on your show.
I'm very happy to have you. You have an amazing career. People may not know that you are the youngest person ever elected to the Hawaii State Legislature, that you today hold the rank of Lieutenant Colonel in the U.S. Army Reserve, that you served in a combat zone in Iraq with the Army National Guard. You, of course, were a four-term Democrat congresswoman from Hawaii's 2nd District, but now I think you are providing your greatest public service yet. You have single-handedly exposed that the Russian collusion hoax was exactly that, nothing less than a seditious conspiracy to overturn the election and remove a duly elected president. And you have come with the receipts proving that President Barack Obama, Vice President Joe Biden, FBI Director James Comey, National Security Advisor James Clapper, Director of National Intelligence James Clapper, National Security Advisor Susan Rice, and many others, including Robert Mueller, engaged in a fabricated hoax to frame Donald Trump as an asset of the Russians. I guess my question is, since you have had the courage to make all of this information public, and this is not supposition, this is not investigative journalism, these are not theories, you have brought hard receipts to prove everything you have said. Have there been any credible threats against you for going after these high-level individuals, such as President Obama?
Roger, that's a good question. I do have a security detail that is assigned to me given the role and responsibilities that I carry as Director of National Intelligence. I also know that they don't tell me about every single threat that comes in. What I am told is there is an almost constant stream. So they fill a very challenging, but obviously an important role that I'm grateful for.
Now, I saw this morning that a whistleblower from the intelligence community came forward to you to expose that they fought for 6 years to uncover the Russiagate hoax. They went to every person they could, exhausted every avenue within the system, and they were consistently stonewalled. In fact, they were told if they wanted a promotion, they would keep their mouth shut and go along with the false narrative. Why do you believe that nobody in positions of power would listen to this voice of reason? And does it show systematic problems within every level of the federal bureaucracy?
You know, Roger, the two drivers and motivations that I can think of when I ask these questions of myself, why is it that through so many years of this courageous whistleblower coming forward, Did nobody heed his call? Did nobody say, thank you for bringing forward the truth? We will now take action to expose the truth and bring accountability. And two motivations come to mind, and one is connected to your first question about threats. There is a level of fear that exists when you have people like Chuck Schumer. You will remember in, I believe, either December of 2016 or January 2017, issued a warning on Rachel Maddow's show. And I'm just pulling this up here, where he said that President Trump was being really dumb by taking on the intelligence community. Let me tell you, you take on the intelligence community, they have 6 ways from Sunday at getting back at you. This was said in January of 2017. If you read the New York Times op-ed written by John Brennan and James Clapper that was published 2 days ago, one of the first lines that they have in the first paragraph is, we want to set the record straight and in doing so sound a warning. There's a lot of fear. We have other whistleblowers who are coming forward. One was debriefed just the other day, and this intelligence community professional with decades of service under his belt was visibly shaking and emotional, filled with fear and anxiety and nervousness about coming forward and telling the truth about these very same powerful people that we exposed in our documents and their complicity in this conspiracy to delegitimize President Trump in his election in 2016, therefore subvert the will of the American people, and enact what can only be described as a years-long coup against the duly elected president of the United States.
Well, I, of course, have lived this myself. After I was pardoned, Robert Mueller, or more precisely Andrew Weissman, ghostwriting for Robert Mueller, said in an op-ed in the Washington Post that I had been in regular contact with multiple Russian intelligence assets, when in fact there was no evidence in my trial that I was in touch with any Russian assets. To violate the False Statements Act, your statement must be willful. It also must be material. So while it's true that I made misstatements in my voluntary testimony for the House Intelligence Committee, none of them hid any underlying crime. Very specifically, none of them hid the crime of Russian collusion or any collaboration with WikiLeaks. Not until BuzzFeed sued the U.S. Justice Department were they forced to disgorge Robert Mueller's final report, withheld from my defense attorneys at trial. And on page 178, even Mueller could not sugarcoat the fact that he'd found no evidence of Russian collusion, WikiLeaks collaboration, or any other crime on my part. As I think it was Ray Donovan, who was the Secretary of Labor, falsely accused of a corruption during the Reagan administration, who said, where do I go to get my good name back? These people take no prisoners. That is most definitely true. I am curious about reports that a whistleblower from the Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency has come forward with information regarding the 2020 election and the disposition of electronic voting machines. Can you yet tell us the specifics of this whistleblower's revelations and what we might expect to hear regarding election fraud, anomalies, and irregularities in the days and months to come?
Sure. Well, this whistleblower came forward, and this is something that I shared with the president during one of our first cabinet meetings. I think it was back in March of this year, about this whistleblower that had come forward very soon after I assumed the position of director, pointing out that in his previous employment at CISA, he was quite shocked at how in the lead up, I think this was in 2019, in the lead up to the 2020 election, he saw documentation that pointed out that there were some vulnerabilities to be concerned about within our election systems, and that the final paper that the leadership at CISA decided to publish intentionally left out that vulnerability from their report. And I think I'm right in saying that the statements around the government in 2020 were resoundingly, this was the most secure election of our lifetimes. Am I correct in that?
I believe that is correct.
So this whistleblower came forward basically saying that what he saw was essentially the very intentional decision by those in leadership to leave out what he viewed as a critical piece of information in the months leading up to that 2020 election. I don't have evidence beyond that speaking to motive or anything else, but the fact that this whistleblower came forward, having worked at CISA, pointing this out was obviously very concerning.
One of the things that is interesting, of course, has been great focus. The director of the Central Intelligence Agency, John Radcliffe, released a report several weeks ago that indicated that former CIA Director John Brennan, who I believe is still talking to some in the CIA because many of his people are burrowed deep into that bureaucracy, forced the so-called Steele dossier, which I think he certainly knew. Andrew Weissman, the de facto head of the Mueller investigation, knew back from his days as the FBI general counsel, was a fraud, was a fabrication paid for by Hillary Clinton, didn't meet agency standards. But now we have much deeper evidence of Brennan's duplicity. Yet he goes on MSNBC and he says, well, the Steele dossier may yet be right. There's no evidence of that. He really is, this guy is unbelievable. He was outraged. Pardon me, I got that wrong. He was appalled several weeks ago when you fired 100, I think it was 100 officials inside the Office of the Director of National Intelligence because they were disloyal to this administration because they leaked like a sieve.
Yeah, it is interesting to see the feigned outrage coming from John Brennan and James Clapper and Susan Rice and others in response to the release of intelligence assessments and documents and emails and personal accounts of the events that occurred then at the end of 2016 and early 2017 that resulted in this manufactured intelligence assessment saying the opposite of what previous intelligence assessments had said. The previous assessments basically said Russia did not have the intent nor the capability to help President Trump win this election. The manufactured intelligence assessment that you're talking about, that John Brennan and James Clapper not only allowed the Steele dossier to be included as a source for this, it was actually they demanded that the Steele dossier be used, and then they buried it by highly compartmentalizing it in a highly classified intelligence category so that it would be very, very, very hard for anyone to know that they chose to use the Steele dossier, which was already well known to be discredited across the intelligence community as a source in this document. So the more outraged I see them as they make the circuits around cable news, the more I know that we are over the target, as we say in the military. If this was as nothing to see here as CNN wants us to believe, then these guys would be out somewhere enjoying their summer rather than expressing their feigned outrage and, frankly, lying again to the American people about their actions and their complicity in this massive conspiracy that occurred.
The discussion of the Steele dossier has been extraordinary over the last couple of weeks, but John Durham never addressed the question of the claim that the Democrat National Committee was hacked by Russian intelligence. Now, it was during my trial, the FBI admitted that they had never inspected the computer servers at the DNC, relying on a company called CrowdStrike, a private left-leaning IT company. The judge refused to let us have their report in my defense. But the head of CrowdStrike, Sean Henry, who just happened to be a former deputy to FBI Director Robert Mueller, testified before the House Intelligence Committee that he had no proof that the Democrat National Committee had been the target of an online hack. And the judge would not allow Bill Binney, formerly a very high-level CIA counterintelligence IT guy, to testify and provide forensic evidence that would have proved that there was no online hack of the DNC. Have you seen any evidence that would bolster that conclusion?
I have yet to see any evidence that proves either of these narratives come across my desk. either the narrative that the Democrats have pushed for a very long time, that Russia hacked into the DNC's email servers and email systems. If you recall, this claim was one of the reasons why President Obama in December of 2016 announced harsher sanctions against Russia in response to this alleged hack. But nor have I seen the opposite, evidence of some other entity, nation state, or others who may have hacked into the DNC system. This is a question that still remains, and we'll see what turns up.
And it is an area that I think should be examined. In my trial specifically, federal prosecutor Jonathan Kravitz, when the FBI was forced to admit that they never inspected the server, he filed a very rare surreply with the court saying that they had additional proof that the DNC had been hacked, but of course they produced none whatsoever. It's because it doesn't exist, in my opinion. Durham, as I say, never addressed this. I hope you have the opportunity to address it as you continue to look at classified documents. When we come back, I want to ask you about this proposal by Senator Tom Cotton of Arkansas, who would transfer the authority to declassify documents from the office you had as the Director of National Intelligence to the FBI, the CIA, and the NSA, all institutions who created the Russian collusion hack and then lied to the American people about it. We'll be right back with Tulsi Gabbard right here in the Stone Zone. Whatever you do, stay with us in the zone.
The Stone Zone on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Stone Zone on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
We're back in the Stone Zone with the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, and we're very grateful to her for joining us today. Senator Tom Cotton seems to be leading the charge to reduce President Trump's oversight over the intelligence community through his legislation, the Intelligence Community Efficiency and Effectiveness Act of 2025. Now, while this legislation kind of masquerades as a cost-cutting operation, in truth, based on my reading of it, it shifts the authority to declassify documents away from the office you had and sends that power to the FBI, the NSA, and the Central Intelligence Agencies, exactly the institutions which promulgated and then covered up the Russian collusion hoax. You already are moving aggressively to downsize your office as we speak, correct?
That's right. And in some of these areas, there's certainly agreement between the work that we are doing to streamline operations, to find and create efficiencies, save taxpayer dollars, to downsize the organization so that it can actually it can move in an agile and an efficient manner to fulfill the mission that ODNI was created for in the wake of 9/11. And you're exactly right, Roger. ODNI singularly is the oversight organization that looks over these 18 different intelligence community elements. It is the integrating body that pulls together the different intelligence products from these different agencies. We check to make sure that these intelligence assessments are not politicized, that they are not biased, that they are not trying to shift a policymaker's view in a biased way through the assessments. What we need are unbiased, objective, relevant, and timely intelligence assessments to best inform the president as he makes his decisions, as well as other policymakers here in our nation's capital. This is what ODNI was created to do. This is what we're focused on that oversight and integration function. I'm working very quickly towards making it executing the plan that we have built very deliberately. And I think taking away that oversight authority from ODNI would essentially put us back into a position where, for example, you would expect the FBI or the CIA or the NSA to report its own wrongdoing or to report its own incidents of weaponization of intelligence that may be occurring under their rooftop. We can look back in history and see that that is not the case, and that will not be the case, which is why you need an independent, objective body, in this case, the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, to fulfill that necessary function for the president and for our country.
On a final point, I want to commend you and thank you for your assistance to Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna, who I think has done a phenomenal job of fighting the federal bureaucracy to ensure that President Trump's orders that all federal records regarding the assassinations of President Kennedy, Senator Robert F. Kennedy, and Dr. Martin Luther King are fulfilled. It's very clear to me that certain elements of the deep state have continued to try to obfuscate and hide a number of key documents, transcripts, videos, and audios, and I know you have worked very hard to help Luna and her committee fulfill that mission. So I want to thank you for that. And I want to thank Tulsi Gabbard for joining us today in the Stone Zone. God bless you, my friend. You're doing an amazing job for our country, and I could not be prouder of you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your bringing voice to so many of these concerns that exist across our country, and it's actually been a real pleasure working with Representative Paulina Luna on this important work, once again, finding the truth and sharing the truth with the American people.
All right, that's it for us today. I want to thank Tulsi Gabbard, our guest. Until tomorrow, God bless you and Godspeed.
Thanks for listening to the Stone Zone with Roger Stone. You can hear the Stone Zone with Roger Stone weeknights at 8 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode, so you never have to wonder,
what the heck is going on here?